Hey guys, welcome back. And the second game in week 2 of Super Rugby Aotearoa is the Crusaders versus the Hurricanes. And it is a big game, in my opinion. It's always a big game when these two teams do play each other. Looking at this game, the recent history between these two sides, it is hugely in the favor of the Crusaders, except for the last game these two teams played. The last game they played last year, the Hurricanes won by 2 points. And it was not the best of seasons for the Hurricanes, and they actually managed to win that one. Before I get into the teams, remember to hit the subscribe button if you are a fan of the channel or want to become one. And then let's look at the two squads. Both have made a couple of changes. The Hurricanes a couple more though, but I think the changes do strengthen the Hurricanes side. In the front row, no changes with Moody, Taylor and Michael Alalatoa. In the front row for the Hurricanes, it's Armstrong, Omua, and Lomax. The front row for the Crusaders did very well last week. The Hurricanes, not too bad, but in my opinion, I'd say the Crusaders are probably the upper hand in this one. But the big battle at number 2 is Omua versus Taylor. Taylor always being the favorite of most players. Omua, he's been my favorite for the last couple of years now, really getting like a little bit of a breakthrough. Last week he was incredible. I think he scored 2 tries in that game. So I think the game at number 2 is going to be a big one because it's very similar type of number 2s there. Going into the locks, Scott Barrett and Whitelock, it's two very good locks that you can have there. Probably two of the best you can have there. The All Blacks do go up against Blackwell and Walker Laiwere. So they do change up one for the Hurricanes in their lock partnership. Honestly, the Crusaders will probably have the upper hand with that as well when it comes to line out time. You don't know if the Hurricanes might have something up their sleeves, but yeah, that is also something that they do have a very strong in their second row. So going to the loose forwards, this is where I think the Hurricanes did a masterstroke of changing things up from last week because their loose forwards of last week didn't do too well. So Reed Princip comes in at number 6. Karifi comes in at number 7. He just is a guy that always needs to start. When he came on last week from the bench, he also kind of brought something else to the game. Savia moves back to number 8, where he played most of last season, so we'll see how he continues this week around. They are up against Blackadder. Blackadder had a great game last week. The guy has been peppered with injuries. He's always injured, but kind of a good game last week. Christie, also a good game last week. And then up against Colin Grace at number 8. Also a guy that's actually a flanker at number 8 this week around. Mitch Drummond comes in at number 9. Bryn Hall did well last week. Drummond also getting a start. It's still, at the Crusaders, you never know which one is the preferred number 9. Up against Tamatane, can't say too much about him. He didn't have an awesome game at the Hurricanes last week, but also didn't do too badly. Gordon Bishop up against Mahunga. Might be a tough game at the office for Gordon Bishop. Also a guy that plays pretty averagely. He doesn't mess up anything. He doesn't do anything exceptional either. Mahunga, we know what we can get with him. Couple of steps through the line. There was an article about that, I think, in SA Rugby magazine as well this week. Also a couple of chip throughs, and then he's so consistent with the boot. In number 12, the youngster McLeod, he did very well last week for the Crusaders, but he's up against Laumape, who had quite a quiet game last week. But with Umaga Jensen joining him at number 13, I think things will go a bit better. Last year they did so well together with Laumape breaking the line or drawing in defenders and Umaga Jensen being there for offloads and running through the gap. So that also improves their side. Umaga Jensen, he's up against Goodhue. Goodhue, like I said, last year and last week again, he's not really in form. He's quite quiet compared to what he's been in previous years. Then we go to the wingers. Severis, he's always a busy guy, always a threat, can always score a try. Last week he had a great try assist as well with that little chip kick where the guy was just onside. Fainga Anuku is also there. Still quite quiet for the Crusaders. We know what he can do, but when he was younger, but still hasn't done that in the big leagues. Wes Goosen, always a guy that you have to look out for when it comes to try time. Julian Savea, I thought he had a very quiet game last week. Unfortunately, that type of thing happens when there's a lot of expectations from a guy coming back. Jordy Barrett at number 15 versus David Avili. Great battle this as well. It's two All Blacks, or guys that I think gun for the 15 spot at the All Blacks. Jordie Barrett, he's taken over the kicking again this season for the Hurricanes. Havili, he did well last season. Unfortunately, he had an injury, or was it an appendix or something like that, and a couple of concussions and stuff like that kept him out. But he's back now. He's one of my favorite players in New Zealand, so we'll see how he does. But quite honestly, both back threes, I don't know if one of them are going to have such a standout game like Nareki had for the Highlanders this morning. He had a brilliant game for them. I always judge him on his defense, but his attack is so good. Then we get to the replacements. Both teams make a couple of changes. Bauer has been doing quite well for the Crusaders when he comes on at scrum time. Quinton Strange at 19. Then Bryn Hall, he shifts to 21. Like I said, Drummond and him just always switch around. Will Jordan, he's back from his latest setback from an injury, so good to have him back there. We always know what he can do with a couple of balls, and he can just score tries from anywhere. Then for the Hurricanes, Ricky Riccatelli, Mafileo, guys to look out for. Then Flanders as well. Billy Proctor finds himself on the bench this week, and then we still haven't seen too much of Rayasi at the 15-man game. Guys, it is a big one to call, but always you have to favor the Crusaders in a game like this. I'd say the Crusaders to win this one by 15 points. You can also let me know your prediction for this game down in the comments below. Check out these videos next to me. Hit the subscribe button if you want to become a fan. And then I'll see you for the next one. Cheers.